If you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll start the meeting. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for attending today the Clermont County Board of Commissioners meeting for September 11th, 2019, and we'll get started. I've called this meeting to order, and our first order of business on the agenda after that is excusing a member that's not present. Ed Humphrey is not with us today. Commissioner Humphrey is away enjoying time with his family. I believe he is in a really nice place like Hawaii. Not to give his location away, but do I have a motion to excuse Ed from the meeting this morning?
I will make a motion wherever he is.
And I will second that motion. Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Ed is officially excused. Item number C, approval of regular session minutes of 9/4/2019. Those minutes were prepared. They were provided to us in draft. There was ample time to have any questions or revisions made to those minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the regular session minutes of 9/4/2019?
I'll make that motion.
It's been moved, and I will second that motion. Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Item number D, we have a proclamation today for the designation of National Patriot Day in Clermont County. I understand that Captain Camphouse and Sandy Snyder are here to accept this proclamation. Morning. Thanks for coming. Appreciate that. Captain, good to see you. Proclamation 9/11/2019. Whereas 18 years have passed since our country was brutally attacked on a quiet September morning. On that day, thousands of innocent lives were taken from us. The victims and the families who lost loved ones remain in our hearts and prayers of our nation. We also remember the courage of those firefighters, police officers, emergency rescue personnel, and scores of private citizens who showed the true meaning of heroism. And whereas the mission that began on September 11, 2001 continues today, today we see the virtue of the September 11th heroes embodied in our military personnel. We're grateful to all those men and women and to their families for their sacrifice and their service. We honor those who have lost their lives defending our freedoms. And whereas we mark this solemn anniversary, we call upon all citizens to express their patriotism and their gratitude for the blessings of liberty. By flying the flag, supporting military families, and teaching young people about our country's founding principles, we honor the lives lost on September 11th, 2001. Now therefore let it be proclaimed that the Clermont County Board of County Commissioners does hereon designate September 11th, 2019 as National Patriot Day in Clermont County. We urge all citizens to observe Patriot Day with appropriate ceremonies and activities, including the remembrance services, displaying the flag at half-staff at their homes, and on that day, this morning, they by now have observed a moment of silence at 8:46 to honor those innocent victims who lost their lives as a result of terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001. And it's signed by the Board of Clermont County Commissioners, David Painter, President, Edwin Humphrey, Vice President, and Claire B. Corcoran, Member. On behalf of Clermont County Board of Commissioners, I'd like to present this proclamation to the both of you. Thanks for being here this morning and accepting it.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. And if you have any words, the podium is yours.
I have.
Okay. Well, how about you guys take a picture with us?
Okay,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks again. Thank you. Before we get started on presentations, while we have quite a few people in attendance, I just ask, where were you on September? Where were you on that day? Do you remember that day? Who here remembers where they were? Who would like to tell us? Where were you?
I know where I was.
Where were you?
I was at home with the child who had strep throat. She still remembers it to this day. Sitting in our bed watching TV, watching cartoons, and all of a sudden I hear, "Mommy, Mommy, they're destroying a building." I said, "What are you watching?" "Mommy, Mommy, another building." I said, "What are you watching?" And it ended up, she was live watching the buildings start to collapse, and I had no idea what was going on. That's a sad memory for children as well as for adults.
It is. I think it was a day where no one had anticipated that that would actually happen on our soil. I think in today's world, I think we all anticipate that it could happen again and could come in many, many different forms. Where were you at, Judy?
I was in the elevator with Mary Lynn Burke on my way to the third floor when we were discussing what's going on, and then we went into an emergency session for the board to take official action.
And someone from the audience? Guy, you remember where you were?
I do, Mr. Painter. I was at work at that time. I remember the news kind of came very rapidly and quickly through our engineering department, and they came and let us know, and then everybody started tuning in on the internet. So it was very frightening, I think, at first. The only thing I could think about was Pearl Harbor. You know, it was my first thought, where my uncle was during World War II. So it brought back a lot of memories, rushed through me pretty quickly. So thank you.
Anyone else?
So my brother worked at Goldman Sachs, so he got out of the building, so we were trained to be calling him.
And were you able to get through, or was it futile?
So he was,
You know, make no mistake about it. What we have here in America is coveted throughout the world, and in some cases is there's animosity towards that. So, you know, conduct yourself accordingly. If you see things that don't make sense, let somebody know. So, to those who were impacted by that, you know, this county remembers that this morning in National Patriot Day. And we'll move on with the agenda. We have presentations this morning. The first presentation that we have is Williamsburg Township. I understand Gary Jordan is here with Williamsburg Township trustees. The podium is yours. And thanks for coming today. We encourage all villages, townships, and cities to come here and to use the media outlets that we have here to update us on what's going on in your community. Thanks.
Might need some assistance in the department. I'm pressing B. Thank you. All right, I'm from Williamsburg Township. This is our opportunity. We received an invite to do a 2019 update and review for the township, and we're grateful the commissioners would invite us to do that. So to start out, you know, we're Williamsburg Township. Guy Banham's our chairman for this year. Barry Henning is the other trustee, the co-chairperson. We got Greg Carson as our fiscal officer. All three are in attendance with me. My name is Gary Jordan. The Williamsburg Township Village was founded by William Lytle in 1796. The Williamsburg Township was founded in 1801. We're bursting with pride. We're eager to grow, and go Wildcats. All right, I'm pretty proud of them. So demographics, we're located east of the county seat, Batavia, situated between Batavia and Williamsburg, for those that might not know where it's at. Our population is over 5,900 individuals, residents. We're situated to draw from an additional 1.1 million workers within 45 miles, within 30 minutes east of Cincinnati. located on State Route 32, the corridor, the Appalachian Highway. We're the last township to have economic development before you enter into Brown County. South Afton Park Major Industries. You know, this is a great story that we have to tell. It's been complemented and driven by the leadership of the commissioners and Clermont County Economic Development, and we appreciate their efforts in supporting us in that. You know, when we talk about this and think about it, we have the opportunity that many townships and communities would love to have. It brings a lot of challenges, but we happen to have it, and we're moving forward with it. It's, you know, as far as what we're talking in some of this, it's the story that economic development should be telling and have told, and we appreciate your support in it. From Southwest Ohio's only Ohio authenticated site, 242 acres of shovel-ready industrial development. It's the home of Design Within Reach, which has made their mark in the community already. There's 197 acres prepared for industrial development. South Afton has been had 14 site visits since the inception. 3 of those visits have been this year, and that's the story that the leadership from economic development drives for us, and we appreciate that. You know, some of those have been from an international-based companies from countries such as Japan, Germany, Brazil, Canada, and China. 4 projects where we're the only site left under consideration. 2 of those we're still in running to win versus other states. So the county and economic development is driving that. You know, we're proud to partner with them on that, and we're hopeful to continue to grow there. Other businesses within that corridor is Millicron, Freeman Enclosures, and Core Composites. By virtue of this development, we've been able to partner in TIFs and JEDs. We're grateful for the support from the Clermont County Commissioners and Economic Development for that. I sat on the CIC for 2 years, stepped back. Barry Henning, the co-chair, now sits on that with the CIC. And we, as a team, we chose the Village of Williamsburg to interact with Rita to collect the taxes on that. Fiscal responsibility, and this is something we're proud of. We're not a township that goes out and spends $1 million on a ladder truck and pays cash. You know, we're very prudent with our money and how we manage ourselves. Our fiscal officer is Greg Carson. He's in his 20th year as the fiscal officer. Congratulations to Greg on being reelected by lack of no opposition, as well as Guy Banham for trustee. So, you know, Greg was able to position us to participate in the Ohio State Treasurer's online checkbook. So it drives transparency. We've had clean audits every year. We're prudent with our residents' taxpayers' money, and we continue to move forward and manage ourselves appropriately. Williamsburg Township zoning. With the growth of everything, it's brought a lot of different challenges with zoning, and we're getting to experience that and get some support with it. And but one of the things that we was blessed with is having a zoning officer, Vonnie Malott, who served over 20 years. She done a phenomenal job. She went through a lot of changes with us. She partnered with the county on upgrading the zoning rules, and she retired last week. And we're grateful for all the service, you know, as far as trustees and zoning officers and fiscal officers and things that we do in the community. These are a community service, and she done it great. So Brian Tapman is the new appointed zoning officer. Zoning in our township was established in 1966. You know, and it was recently, the zoning was updated in 2019. Zoning is enforced in Williamsburg Township, which brings even more challenges for us. Williamsburg Township Emergency Services. Our emergency services chief is Kevin Wiedemann. Our paramedic unit is 24/7. We have a tremendous amount of firefighters that support us in that, over 40 different volunteers in coverage. Some of our challenges there, it's difficult for people to volunteer and maintain jobs that come with benefits that draw them from the community. So we're proud of everybody that participates and volunteers in our community. Our challenges with Williamsburg Emergency Services is staying current as our township grows, and with Half Acre, the South Afton development. You know, I mentioned earlier with Greg and making sure that we stay accountable to our monies. We'll go out and purchase a new ambulance, and we're looking at that right now as far as trustees and a fiscal officer with emergency services. However, when we consider purchasing a new ladder truck, we're not the type of a township that can go out and spend $1 million cash and be able to purchase and bring that in. We bought a ladder truck, rebuilt it, and put it in service, and it runs just quite fine. So it was a lot of leadership, you know, with the chief and everybody to do that. Williamsburg Township Maintenance. Brian Tapman, who does zoning for us now, is also the manager over that. We have over 18 miles of township road that we take care of. We have 2 or 3 cemeteries that we manage. We're repaving 2 roads in 2019, Hagman's Crossing and Hibbs Road, which is supported some of the tax base as the commissioners have drawn from. We do have a challenge in the community. Roads were built with the West Fork Drive over 20 years ago, and we're repatching that. It has a clay base to a short base, and we're continuously trying to patch that. We've talked with Commissioner Painter and you know, with the engineer about trying to create opportunities to fix the latent defects. So them are major costs for us as far as a small community. The challenges with maintenance is to keep up with the road system and the South Afton Park. Our Sheriff's Department, you know, we just talked about September the 11th. Our Sheriff's Department's a class act. You know, when we're grilling out or doing things with our family and we're enjoying ourselves, it's not uncommon to hear sirens go by. These people are working for us. The guys and gals in this department work for us every day. They're a pride of our community, whether we're at work, whether spending time with their family or sleeping. They're out there taking care of us, and as a small community, we appreciate that and we honor you. We also honor fallen Deputy Bill Brewer, who was raised in Williamsburg Township. Community safety, you know, this is our priority, and when we make our decisions as township trustees and a fiscal officer, this is always out front and what we're going to do to make sure that we're taking care of our community and support with the Sheriff's Department. And one of our biggest challenges as we see Eastgate grow and the state pay further out on 32 and the challenges that economic development and the commissioner have trying to stay up to speed on that. One of the things that we notice in our community, we talk often when we have it, is with the volume of traffic that now heads up and down 32, which is significant. Our bigger challenge is McKeever, Pike, and Della Palma. As you come through our community on 32, there was a point where the state had considered shutting down McKeever Pike because of the accidents. And now with the growth and as much volume of traffic we have out there, you know, it's managed well. We put in safety checks, the state has, the county has, but that's still an issue. It's an issue for our residents. And the reason that we bring it up, that as we move forward, we need to have a shared vision and a common goal to make sure that we look and see exactly how we build a corridor, a bridge over those 2 roads, or how we manage ourselves on those roads. And the reason it's paramount for us is we have emergency services that has to get across the road to protect our community across 32. And just as important, our school buses travel across those roads picking up our young fine leaders for the future to go to school. So we've got to make sure those individuals are safe. Those are our biggest challenges as far as safety and making a high priority on shared vision, common goal. Our schools, you know, we're pretty proud of the Williamsburg school system. It's academic excellence, rated state excellence. We're proud of that. It's a great place to come get an education. We got to make sure, if we was thinking about a partnership between the township, economic development, and the commissioners that we take the opportunity as businesses come in with existing businesses that we do on-the-job training with our seniors and juniors, whether it's Grant Vocational or whether it's our school or surrounding community schools, that we bring them in and let them partner with these business owners and see if we can help grow them and what their challenges or opportunities might be. So thinking outside the box on that. Also, we have great competitive sports. You know, the guys and gals, the young men and young women have brought home some state titles. We're proud of them, and you know, they've competed greatly and actually have great grades. So we're pretty proud about that. HARSHA Lake, East Fork Reservoir, when it went in, we lost quite a bit of our road system from Williamsburg Township. It's under the lake. But when you think about a hidden secret, you know, there's a lot of people that visit that throughout the day, whether it's fishing or hunting or just recreation. And it's an unintended opportunity. If there was ever an opportunity for economic growth, coming off 32 into the East Fork Reservoir would be a great opportunity to partner with us on building that for our community. So, you know, with that, Williamsburg Township is a tremendous place to live, an incredible place to raise a family. Our township and the 88 counties that we have in the state of Ohio, we're just one of the 1,308, and we're proud to be here today, and we appreciate the opportunity. So Williamsburg's a tremendous place to live and an incredible place to raise a family. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And when you say that sports competitive goes on for a lifetime, when you say that?
I would have to believe that. I think there's a rich history between New Richmond and Williamsburg, dating back to maybe when you and I had dark hair and lots of hair in high school.
There are some numbers that go with that game, but
Yes, there
we'll,
is.
we'll leave those on the bench right here.
So I can remember three things that I already shared with you, which was New Richmond High School football team trying to get out of the way of Dwayne Woodruff, our team trying to catch Dwayne, and the third one would be New Richmond did win 1 out of 4, and that would be bragging rights for 1 year.
If I remember right, that was a CCL championship games, and some of the numbers that I remember really vividly are 54-0, New Richmond.
And I don't want to
Here we
Not,
go.
not to dispute that number or anything. Good to see you. Thanks for coming
Thank
this
you.
morning. And we'll move on with the agenda. We have a second presentation, Andy Dickerson of Cardinal Land Conservancy, Clean Ohio Green Space Grant. And I understand you'll be requesting a resolution of support for the New Richmond Nature Preserve Center situated in Ohio Township.
Yes, sir.
Andy, podium's yours.
Down here? Yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay. All right, so, thanks for having us back, appreciate it. I know some of you have heard this before. So, you know, I appreciate you, Mr. Painter, bringing that up about the 9/11. I was in downtown Lexington, I worked for the Nature Conservancy, and there happened to be a meeting of all the governors of the southeast states. And in our building, when it happened, we were at work early and saw it, and half the governors came to our building because it was on the outskirts of town, and then scattered to get back to their state. And they sent us home for the day, and on the way home from Lexington, here in Milford, highways were closed, shut down, cell phones weren't working. We were just stuck on the highway for 4 hours, no idea what was happening. So, it's a tremendous thing. So I'm here to talk about we are seeking a resolution of support for you guys. A little bit about Cardinal. We are a private nonprofit land trust. We started way back in 1999 as the Citizens Land Conservancy of Hamilton County. A merger took place about 4 years ago that we became Cardinal Land Conservancy. And it was really an effort to take advantage of 3 all-volunteer organizations merging into one to have professional staff. I am that first professional staff for them as the executive director. We've got a board of trustees. One of our officers is here with us today, Mr. Pat Hornschmeyer. And we are diligently working in the 7-county region across southwest Ohio. Our mission is to preserve natural habitats, waterways, and protected lands we love in southwest Ohio by working with individuals, families, and communities. And you'll see, and I'll give you a few examples about how we do that. I've condensed down a little bit today, back up to where we work. Across that region, you'll see we have we're approaching 5,000 acres of an interest in land. The majority of that are agricultural easements, so we work with the Clean Ohio program. There's several different parts of the Clean Ohio program. That one is administered through the Ohio Department of Agriculture, where we work for acquiring easements to keep family farms. And it's a competitive process, and when we work with landowners to do that, they are paid for agricultural easements, and then their farm can never be split up and divided, and it has to remain available for agriculture. The other part of the Clean Ohio program that we work with is the Green Space program. So the Green Space program is, it's one, I printed out a few facts from the Coalition of Ohio Land Trusts. So I sit on the executive board for the Coalition of Ohio Land Trusts, and we've been a big part of making sure that Clean Ohio program keeps getting funded. And it was overwhelmingly supported, bipartisan, in 2000 when it started. It was a $400 million bond that was renewed in 2008. When Kasich got in office, he made it part of the state capital budget, and what he didn't want to do was raise taxes. So it's now based off of a debt service. So that's where they come up with the money. So the Clean Ohio program has been used in all 88 counties. It has preserved over 26,000 acres of property across the state. And one of the things that Colt brags about, the Coalition of Land Trusts, is it's leveraged additional investments, a total economic impact of approximately $2.6 billion in public and private investments. And one of the things they like to say is it catalyzes economic activity. So back to what we're looking for. This is a general location. You can see on the lower left part of the map is the Ohio River in New Richmond. And we are looking at about 161 acres on 132. And it is the property of Cindy Castle, who's here with us today. And it's where the Vista Grand Ranch is. So there you can see kind of the makeup of the property, aerial photograph. It would be the property along the outside, and it borders 12 Mile Creek. And there's a topographic image on the map, and you can see it's pretty hilly where those woods are. So it's got some steep slopes and some highly erodible soils. One of the things that's different since last time we came before you is we had some input and a little more time to plan and work with partners, and we're looking to create a trail that you'll see on the lower left part of the map with a gravel parking area off of the old driveway off of 12 Mile. So it's approximately a 1 mile loop that we hope to clear and have ready as soon as possible after we close. And up on the top, where the bison are roaming now, it's actually a fantastic place for, one of my friends is the running buffalo clover expert. And for those of you that don't know, running buffalo clover and buffalo clover are endangered plants that are pretty much located all over Clermont County. They got their name because they do coexist, or they coexisted in the past with bison. So it would be a really neat story to have them found here. included in the grant is a botanical survey to try to find some of the endangered species. We're working with Great Parks of Hamilton County to get the seed to plant the prairie species. So this is kind of what the access and parking will look like. So just a couple, Colt said it on their website, but we know that there's an impact of open space on economic development, that, many times it increases property values, and it does improve communities' capacity to attract and retain sought-after companies. That was one of the things as part of, I'm on Green Umbrellas, I run the Green Space Action Team for Greater Cincinnati, and that is a huge deal for corporations and companies to relocate, is what their employees and staff can do in their free time for quality of life. And this is the kind of thing they look for. There's been debate in the past about fiscal benefits of park versus residential development, and there's a couple studies out there that just say really unplanned or poorly developed areas can actually cost taxpayers more funds in services provided, like for infrastructure, sheriff department, medical. And I'll let Cindy run through a couple slides. Just let me know when you want me to change something.
So thanks for letting us present today. So a couple of things that maybe other projects don't have that our project is very excited about is, first of all, I'm a 4-H advisor. Absolutely loving the 4-H advisor. I've been one for 15 years. And these are just examples of things that we'll continue to do on our property, given the ability to, maintain the conservation land trust. We have a great space for the kids to have their goats or their pigs or their chickens, and we have probably 15 or 20 family members from the Richmond area, as well as from other areas from the community that come over and have their animals at our farm, because we have such a great space for them. And the kids do really well. As you can see, we have a lot of blue ribbons. We have a lot of champions. We're very proud of that. I'm super excited about the 4-H experience. I think it's something that our community does that doesn't get a lot of exposure in Hamilton County versus Clermont County. And Richmond does. We do a great job of it, and I'm very, very proud of that. And another thing that I'm involved in, as well as David, is the Farm Bureau. I was the former president of Clermont County Farm Bureau, and they would continue to work with us on doing events or planning farm visits or agricultural sort of days where people come over and see what we've done with either the conservation property, turning the grass into Pearland, as well as our former experience, last 25 years raising buffalo and understanding a marketable product. We're still very involved in Farm Bureau. Actually, I just got accepted to the AFBF program for community boot camp, which is in about 2 months. So I'm still very involved in agriculture. We still hope to be able to represent our county in a positive way to bring the business of agriculture. It is the largest agriculture in the state of Ohio, and it's significantly important for the kids and the people that we're involved with, as well as, I think the next slide is the other one. I'm sorry. The school, Mrs. Prescott, who is a friend and also a 4-H advisor, she is the AP chemistry teacher, and I spoke with her in July before the 4-H. She's also an advisor, as I said, and they're very interested in working with us on our property as when the conservation stuff comes through about doing some environmental biology issues, looking at the water, looking at the grass, looking at the species that might be involved. So given those, and there's other opportunities that arise when this property goes into conservation, that there's just so much that you can do given the exposure for agriculture and conservation to be the next STEM project for any kid in our area. It's a huge opportunity for New Richmond, considering that Richmond is not a really good business area. We have lost a lot of property because of the Vector plant and not being able to do anything there. So our community is not the best in terms of looking at exposures for the kids in the area. We love the Cincinnati Nature Center. We love all these other nature centers, but most of these kids don't have access to going there. I mean, it's a little bit of hike for them. The school doesn't have access to them. So we would love to partner with the New Richmond School District to be able to expose kids to things that the teachers feel is significant for their development. Oh, big deal for me. My father grew up in Norton, Virginia, which is Appalachia, and he was a very good runner, and so that's why he was able to move out of the area, but I still have probably 10 uncles that still live in Norton, Virginia. It's considered the Appalachian area as well. We are the very last county for the Appalachian region, and Clermont County is definitely in a food desert for many of the families that in New Richmond are definitely exposed to that. So one of the things that we are challenged with is understanding the at-risk community for exposure to food. I'm very interested in doing food skills. I'm a dietitian, I'm a professor, and those are the things that are very, very important to me is understanding and helping the community access better opportunities for food and teaching them how to grow their own food. And on our property, we have a second house that we could actually use for a food kitchen or a soup kitchen to help people understand how to do those kind of things. So those are the kind of things that, the next step for us once we do this conservation is really to get more involved in the community to be able to do a better job to help the community understand the importance of agriculture and conservation. Oh, love hoop houses. Love hoop houses. Love them, love them. If you don't have them, you should get one. So hoop houses are a big product that the NRCS is advocating for homeowners. We still will have 10 acres on our property, and I'm very excited to be able to apply for that. And then, once again, through that exposure, try to educate people in the community about exactly how to use the products from your hoop house to make, your cans and your put up string beans and, tomatoes and all this kind of thing. It's a big deal for our community to understand that kind of thing. And we don't have access to that in New Richmond or in that area. Maybe in other areas they do, but in New Richmond we just don't have access to these kind of things for the community to experience and to get educated.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
So some of the things that Cindy talked about in the partnerships with where a hoop house will go, that will be on their property, not Cardinal's. So if we get a resolution of support, remember this is step one. It's really just supporting us applying for a grant, which is a chance at funding. Nothing's guaranteed. But if we're lucky enough to get awarded, the property cannot be used for commercial purposes. So we're a nonprofit, so we can't do commercial agriculture. But we would delight in a chance to work with the kids to show them, agricultural practices that are more important as we're seeing a changing climate are how to manage water and what to do with water resources and excess water and how we plant and restore areas to take up more water and send it into the ground is a subject that we can all learn more about. When we go through reseeding and restoring those prairies, it's the same practice that's used all over the state of Ohio in what they call two-stage ditches, grass waterways. It's very much the same, it's just different seeds. So this property is unique. Half a mile of creek frontage, steep slopes that warrant protection, grand views of the Ohio River Valley. I mean, you can see the river when the leaves are off the trees. Great potential for passive recreation. It does have headwater streams on it, and there's multiple partnerships with other conservation organizations. I mentioned the Great Parks of Hamilton County for seed. Cincinnati Nature Center has a seed drill that they will let us use without charging. So other people are very engaged and are interested in this project. I just brought up the zoning resolution of Ohio Township calls for protecting the steep slopes across the township, and we're trying to follow that recommendation with this project. I included just a couple photos of the views of where part of these will be where the trail will go, and part is just the scenic vista. Down in 12 Mile Creek, again, there are some studies from the Southwest Ohio River tributaries analysis that was done, and water quality is still in decent shape in 12 Mile Creek, and what I'm pointing to there on the right is a water penny. So that's one of those macroinvertebrates that lives on our streams that requires high oxygen amounts, and oxygen is one of those things that's needed in streams for them to stay healthy. And just a photo of the steep slopes that are all over the property. So the total project cost. So total project cost is $2.358 million. Funding requested from Clean Ohio Program is 1.744. And how the money will be spent. And remember, this is based on an appraisal from, you know, we don't really have a say in assigning values to the property. It's dictated through the Ohio Revised Code, and we have to use a certified appraiser from ODOT's list, which is what we have done. So it's the fee simple value of the property for the 161 acres, and then all the necessary project costs below that. That's how we arrived at the total value. And the landowners are contributing match money, because there's a match required for this. And it's a bargain sale, so giving us a deal on the land and donating money over and above that so we can steward the property in perpetuity is a unique opportunity for not just local residents, but the whole county. Unfortunately for us, time is kind of short. You know, the last piece of the puzzle is from you on the Board of Commissioners. We seek and need a resolution of support to be able to submit a grant application. We're confident that our project will enhance local conservation efforts. It's a migratory bird stopover site as birds head north and south. We're going to restore tons of pollinator habitat, and there are bats all over the place. And our project was identified by ODNR as having endangered bats within the area. They haven't been found on site yet because no one's looked. There will be a hiking trail. We'll protect steep slopes and highly erodible soils. We'll look to reduce runoff and erosion, which is a known impairment in 12 Mile Creek. We're looking to involve the local kids in opportunities for passive recreation and science, and we're partnering with local conservation organizations. And a quick reminder, we're just following the rules and guidelines set forth by the Ohio Public Works Commission. This project was supported by the local government and local citizens that came out at the Ohio Township meetings. And we're not seeking funding from the county or the township for this. It's really just to support us signing our application and sending it in. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Any questions?
No.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. We will move to item F of public participation. If there's anyone here today who would like to participate from the public, we would welcome your comments and participation. I just have to inform you, we've reached the public participation section of the agenda. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the board, during this time the board does not answer questions nor engage in a debate. The commissioners are not expected to comment on matters brought to the board during this time. Each speaker will speak once and will be recognized by the board president before speaking. In accordance with the board's rules and procedures, your comments are limited to 5 minutes. Would anybody like to speak to the board? Frank Wren? Podium is yours, sir. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Frank Rand. I live in Ohio Township, 2928 Mount Pisgah Road.
Before you get started, if anyone hasn't signed in at the door in the sign-in sheet, please make sure you do that. We would love to know who's here today. Go ahead, Frank.
I'd like to speak in opposition to this, and I hope I can do this all in 5 minutes. On April 8th is when this started with the township. Mr. Dickerson, Cardinal Land controversy, came to the township. There were many questions asked. Mr. Polster asked if the public would be allowed to use the property. Answer given was yes, but by appointment for now until improvements are made for public use. Zoning Inspector Les Smith asked what the cost was. Answer given was approximately $700,000. Trustees voted to table resolution until the next meeting. On the May 13th meeting, Andy Dickerson reintroduced the project with a price tag of $2.3 million, of which 25% would go back to Cardinal Land controversy. There were a lot of people at this meeting, 5 of which spoke in favor of the project. There were numerous other questions from the audience. Mr. Polster noted that the resolution is merely part of the application process and does not mean the township is approving the grant itself. It should be noted, although this was a public meeting, as our trustee meetings are, it was never advertised, and in my opinion, people were there at the request of interested parties. Someone asked about the entrance from 132. Answer given was from 12 Mile Road only. That's the only access to that property. The State Route 132 access remains the Castle Ubel private entrance. I never heard any definite plans or timetables on what would be done or when the project would be started or completed. I've heard a lot of we would like to and potential, what we would like to do here. I feel the price is way out of line. I've done some comparables. And as I see this thing, it's about the price and it's about the need. There's two things. Now, I've got a whole list. A good example is the golf course at Lindale. It's 132 acres. Fellow turned it into a farm. He's got $1 million clubhouse on that ground, plus other outbuildings. He has water throughout the property. They have electric, they have septic, they have frontage on 2 roads. He paid $6,800 an acre, $905,000. He bought it from the bank. Anybody could have bought it. And speaking of, it's called Emmett Ridge Farm, and they went to Monroe Township, and Monroe was very helpful with them about setting that up where kids could come and visit, and they'd show how animals were grown. It's a working farm. They have cattle there. They have hogs there. Kids can come. They're doing wedding reception. It's a fine thing. He paid $905,000 for all that. 14 acres on Jenny Lynn that I sold. I got $7,000 an acre for it. It was for sale for 3 years. I felt happy about it. 15 acres on 749, $7,000. I've got an 80-acre farm on 132. I'd love to get $6,000. I can't even get a phone call on it. It is a house and a barn. I've looked up the Ubel Castle property. My wife looked it up on the website, which shows the value that we're talking about at $566,800, $3,500 an acre, not $22.3 million or $14,375,000 an acre. Another property, Nelson's property down there on Fagan Run Loop, some people here are familiar with that, was 47 acres. It sold for $197,000. It has a knoll, it has a house, it has a barn. Quite honestly, the house and barn are not bigger than that property. That's just what the value of the land. Another thing, I've been told that Mr. Ubel sat on the board and came off the board in 2019, the board that awards these grants that now he's trying to acquire. The August 22nd edition of the Clermont Sun ran a very informative article about 147 acres given to Pierce Township. It is now open to the public with easy access to parking, primitive walking trails, as well as a well-landscaped entrance only 1 mile from Ohio Township, only 4 miles from the Ubel property, the Castle Ubel property, 4 miles away. Trustee Freeman was quoted as saying in the paper, "This park is among the best in the county as well as the entire region." Two things I see here are the money, way too much, and the need, not enough. Mr. and Mrs. Jim Wilson of Batavia, a lot of you probably know, donated land to Batavia for the park. Duke Energy donated land to Pierce Township for a preserve. The donations here would be coming from taxpayers. I'm going to quote Mr. Painter this morning. He said, "If you see something wrong, say something." That's what I'm doing. And I want to thank you very much for your time and your attention.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to participate in public participation? Yes, you are more than welcome to. State your name and your address for the record.
Dr. Fred Arnold, 2912 Pond Run Road, Pierce Township. I have no problems with the lofty aims of the Conservancy. I think they're very noble. I come to you as someone who has sold property in the area, 106 acre pieces, and et cetera, over the years before the financial crisis and after the financial crisis. I feel I have a real handle on what property is worth. I've consulted some very knowledgeable realtors in the area. And as Mr. Wren pointed out, the county itself values the property on the tax rolls at $3,500 an acre. We just saw a nice blue sign up here that said fiscal responsibility. I'm a taxpayer. We're all taxpayers. And I'm here to protect my interest as a taxpayer. That is my standing in this argument, okay? No arguments with what you want to do with it. Do what you want. But if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and water runs off its back, it's usually a duck. And this property is nowhere near worth $14,000 an acre. There are no sewers, there's no plans for any sewers. The development of this property in the future is very limited, and I just think as a fiscal responsibility issue, the price of $14,000 is outrageous. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Arnold. Anyone else like to participate during public participation? Mr. Hicks?
Hi, I'm Chris Hicks from 444 Woodward Court, Cincinnati, Ohio. Somebody stole one of my lines. I wanted to start out by pointing out that Commissioner Painter said, if you see stuff that does not make sense, let everyone know. And I want to point out two things that don't make sense. One is already in process, and I mean no disrespect by mentioning it, but then to talk about this deal, this land deal. Let's talk about South Afton for a second, one of other David Ubel's brainchildren. South Afton and Williamsburg is pure real estate speculation of taxpayer money without tenants. It has one tenant now, but it will never, never produce anywhere close to the jobs projected. It will produce probably at most 25% of the jobs that were promised to the citizens for the investment that took place at South Afton. And if it is not developed now, it ain't never going to be developed. Okay, we are in a boom economy. I went back 4 years also looking at a Clermont Sun article where David Ubel said if private developers were willing to build an industrial park, the county wouldn't have to. And that's where you get at crony capitalism, using taxpayer money for idiotic deals that make no sense and private people would never do. If this property is so valuable, why isn't it sold on the private market? Why isn't it listed on the private market? Because we know that this is a sham. Mr. Dickerson and Mr. Horschmeyer, if I got it down correctly, I want to ask you, you care about conservancy. Is this the highest and best purpose of taxpayer dollars? Land in the middle of nowhere that would never otherwise be developed anyway? I live in Union Township. There's actual real places in Union Township. I'd give the example of the Miller Place site where there's a lot of discord over that land getting developed as residential development versus leaving it more as uninhabited land. There's actual places in this county. I'm sorry. I grew up in Mount Washington. My dad lived in Bethel. When I was in Bethel, if I wanted to go in nature, I walked outside. Nature was everywhere. We could go and play in the woods all over the place. Okay? Union Township, some of the populous areas is where we should be worrying about using taxpayer money, if at all, if we think it's a good use of taxpayer money, to set aside land so that it doesn't get developed, especially land that's never going to get developed otherwise. So I question the highest and best purpose of our taxpayer dollars for $1.8 million out in the Ubel property. We got to see here 26 pages. I noticed 5 of the pages are about Cindy Castle. I edited one of them. Every one of those 5 pages says, and I just got to make fun of this. It says Cindy Castle, PhD, RD, LD, I added BFD. Okay? Who cares? This is a waste of taxpayer money, and it's an insider deal. What other person could come here and get 3 hearings before the commissioners to talk about some bogus land deal? What other citizen could do that? Do we ever see regular citizens come here and get that opportunity? But I guess if Mr. Ubel wants that opportunity, he's welcome at any time to have whatever scheme put before you commissioners to vote on. When are you guys going to quit being lackeys for David Ubel? When are you going to start standing for the conservative fiscal principles you say when you campaign that you stand for? I'll tell you something about New Richmond. I know some people in New Richmond. New Richmond doesn't need more land with no jobs. New Richmond needs land with jobs in it. This is just shameless. And every time I come here, I repeat again, for you, Ms. Corcoran, you promised in your campaign that you would get the CVB books open. Another David Ubel racket. Whatever happened to your campaign promise on video to get the CVB books open? If I will end where I start, kind of where I was in the middle. If this land is so valuable, why isn't it sold on the private market? This is land out in the country. I would ask the commissioners, if there is tax money available to be used to purchase land, to set it aside so that it doesn't get developed, how about Andy Dickerson and our commissioners working together on actual plots of land in Clermont County that otherwise would be developed? Where it might actually be important because in places like Union Township, Miami Township, etc., kids might not be able to walk out across the street into the woods like I could when I lived in Bethel, when my dad lived in Bethel. So I thank you, commissioners. I think it's high time with this to once and for all, come on. What is I don't know what David Ubel has on you guys. 3 hearings here on the same nonsense land deal at unbelievable inflated values. It's enough, and I think the citizens are fed up with it. I'm fed up with it, and it should die right now. Thank you.
Thank you for your participation and comments. Anyone else like to participate from the public? Sir, state your name and your address.
I'm Patrick Hornschmeyer. I live at 108 Grandin Drive in Georgetown, Ohio. The reason I am interested here is that I am a member of the Board of Directors of the Cardinal Land Conservancy, which is headquartered in Clermont County and serves Clermont County. I am also Secretary of the Board of Directors and Chair of the Land Selection Committee of Cardinal Land Conservancy. The property that Ms. Castle owns and which is subject of this grant proposal is in an area which in the conservation business we would call substantial development pressure. It is, as you probably are familiar, surrounded by single-family homes. If it is not kept for some sort of green space use, it is our conclusion that it would in fact be developed into single-family houses, which is not a fiscally responsible use of property, as Mr. Dickerson already explained. The price at which we must deal must be decided by state-approved appraisers. We cannot go out and pick an appraiser we like. We must use state-approved appraisers, and the appraisal must be backed up by a second appraisal. But the most important point I wanted to make is the commissioners are not being asked to approve this project, to state your opinion that you think it's a great project or that you think it's a deficient project. Under the scheme here, the state of Ohio has simply said when a nonprofit is engaging in a project of this type, it must be run by the county commissioners and the township trustees. The burden on the commissioners is if you do not see any reason to object, such as that you have land use plans that would call for this property being used for some other purpose, then it's appropriate for you to pass this resolution. The nature of the resolution is saying we have no objections based on our land use plans and things of that sort. So, well, I think that's all I will say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public that would like to participate in the meeting this morning? Seeing none, I'll close the public participation, and I'll move to item G on the consent agenda. Consent agenda has been prepared prior to this meeting, and you've had ample time to review it. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda for further conversation or discussion?
None.
Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. We will move to the non-consent agenda. Non-consent agenda starts on page
4, isn't it?
4. With item number 7. Recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners adopt resolution number 140-19, resolving to approve payment in vendors in the amount of $1,268,006.29 as set forth in the BCC approval invoice report for checks dated September 11, 2019, and BCC directed prepaid invoice reports presented by the county auditor on September 9, 2019, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for the same pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make that motion.
A second? Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Item number 8. Morning.
Item 8 is a recommendation to adopt Resolution 14119, which determines that compliance with Section 30786 of the Revised Code relative to the public bidding requirements would increase rather than decrease the cost of purchase of property, casualty, and liability insurance for the County of Clermont, and further to determine to employ a competent consultant to assist the Board of County Commissioners as the contracting authority, therefore, in procuring the appropriate coverage at the best and lowest price pursuant to and in compliance with Section 30786F of the Revised Code, and to authorize the execution of contract for professional services with Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services out of Independence, Ohio, effective for the period of 12/31/19 through 12/31/2022. This is pursuant to and in compliance with the terms and conditions therein, and it is no longer contingent. This draft was done before we had the liability insurance. This is another contract with Gallagher. We have had Gallagher support us through the insurance brokerage for many years, 20 plus years. Gallagher is actually one of the highest ranked brokerage firms in the country, I believe. They're ranked number 4 by Best. They know our policies, they know our properties, they know our businesses inside and out. And I have no qualms in providing them the ability to continue to look for the best type of coverage for us. Right.
Am I correct in saying that the words contingent upon the issue and receipt of a current certificate of liability are not applicable to this motion?
Right.
Actually, we got a revised one. It had revised dates on it, but it left out the certificate holder and the description of operations as had been submitted prior to. So we just need to get that filled in.
Their insurance term ends at the same time we do this.
Okay.
So their policy, that the coverage that we had when we submitted it was an accurate policy.
So should we leave the contingent in there because of that? Yes?
I say yes until I get one that has the information on it.
That's fine. Then we'll consider it as read with no revision. You've heard the explanation for item number 8. Do I have a motion
I'll make that motion.
and a second? Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Item number 9. Thanks, Suki.
Morning, Doug Royer with the County Engineer's Office. Item number 9 is a recommendation of Jeremy Evans, County Engineer, to approve the request of the Board of Trustees of Union Township to initiate procedures to vacate a portion of Elk Lick Road, County Road 388, situated within Union Township, pursuant to Section 5553.04 of the Ohio Revised Code, and further to resolve, authorize the clerk of the Board to place a legal notice in the Clermont Sun for 2 consecutive weeks commencing Thursday, September 19th, designating the date and time of the viewing and date and time and location of the final hearing of the proposed vacation thereon pursuant to Section 5553.05 of the Ohio Revised Code. The viewing and final hearings on the proposed vacation of a portion of Elk Lick Lane situated within Union Township to be held on Wednesday, October 16th, 2019, with the viewing at 9 a.m. local time and the final hearing at 11 a.m. local time in the Office of the Board of County Commissioners in Batavia, Ohio.
You've heard the reading of item number 9. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion. Any conversation or discussion? I understand this vacation is for a small portion of property. Is it like 50 feet of right-of-way that was left over?
Yeah, it's a leftover from when we did the Buxton extension and all the road work.
And will this vacation be to the adjacent property owners or one property owner?
I believe it's one property owner.
It's only the Board of Union Township Trustees.
Okay. And for those that might not have heard that explanation before, the vacation is usually done after the development is completed, and when property is left over, it goes to the adjoining property owners that actually along that property border. So you've heard. Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Thank you. Item number 10.
Item number 10 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 142-19, resolving to, 1, authorize Jeremy Evans, Clermont County Engineer, to execute the Ohio Public Works Commission project grant agreement for OPWC project DJW04 entitled Old State Route 74 Improvements Phase 1 in the amount of $1,500,000 in concert with resolution number 041-19 adopted by the Board of County Commissioners on April 3rd of 2019 relative to the requisite application for financial assistance. Therefore, and further, to designate, authorize, and approve the Clermont County Transportation Improvement District to manage and contract for the Old State Route 74 Improvement Project Phase 1 located in Union Township. This is in concert with the Ohio Public Works Commission Project DJV05 and Clermont County Transportation Improvement District Regional Transportation Improvement Program with relative to PID project number 82557 and in compliance with all applicable laws and regulations, including the terms, conditions, and requirements of the Ohio Public Works Commission as appropriate and as more fully stated therein accordingly.
Heard the reading of item number 10. Do I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second. Any further conversation or discussion?
None.
Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 11. Thank you.
Item number 11 is a recommendation to declare that certain personal property, specifically motor vehicles, trailers, miscellaneous equipment, or parts that have been acquired for the county use are no longer needed as public use, obsolete, or unfit, and to auction those off at a public auction to the highest bidder pursuant to Section 307-12A1. And we will also execute a contract for auction services between the county and Mike Toller, doing business as Toller Auto Auction out of Felicity, to advertise, promote, and sell the reference personal property at a public auction, with the commissions to be 8% of the gross sales pursuant to and in compliance with the terms of that agreement, and also to authorize the clerk of the board to place the notice of the public auction in a newspaper of general circulation on September 19th. This auction will be held Saturday, October 5th in the municipal court rear parking lot at 10 a.m. We currently have on the list 45 vehicles, a couple air compressors, and 7 skids of old parts. So the vehicles range anywhere from a Ford Mustang to buses and dump trucks and vans and SUVs and sedans. Last year we did come back with a revised one. We are right now in a kind of a time period where our new sheriff vehicles are coming in, but until they're in and up running, we can't take a couple more out. If that happens between now and October 5th, we may add a couple more. We'll let you know on that one.
Okay. Heard the reading of item number 11. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second. It's been moved and second. Any further conversation or discussion?
None.
Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Thanks, Suki. Item number 12.
Item 12 is the financials for this week. We have one supplemental appropriation and sewer collection other expenses of $125,000.
You've heard the reading of item number 12 for resolution by Mary Raines and Management and Budget with concurrence from Suki to resolve to approve authorized changes in the annual appropriation resolution 194-18 for fiscal year 2019. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. Tom, at this time, any additions to the agenda?
I do not have any, sir.
Okay, then I will move to item number J. I'm requesting an executive session pursuant to section 121.22 G1 and G3 of the Ohio Revised Code to first, consider the appointment, dismissal, or compensation of one or more public employees, and second, to confer with the prosecuting attorney regarding pending or imminent litigation respectively. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make that motion.
I will second that motion. Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. We will move to executive session. We will return and we will conduct further business. Thank you. We've returned from executive session. There were no decisions made, and we will continue on with the agenda. Do we have any additions to the agenda, Tom?
Yes, we have 4 personnel actions for the board to consider adding to the agenda, 1 in the Board of County Commissioners Office, 1 in the Department of Job and Family Services, and 2 in the Building Inspection Department.
And I would add one more to that for a resolution in support of the Cardinal Land Conservancy application for financial assistance for the Ohio Public Works Commission Clean Ohio funds. Board, you've heard the additions that we've talked about. Do I have a motion to add the additions to the agenda?
I make that motion.
I'll second that motion. Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Tom, if you'd proceed.
Sure. First, in the Department of Job and Family Services, we have Sean Bailey, Computer Operator 2, termination probationary removal, effective 9/11/2019.
Board, you've heard the reading of the first add-on. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion. Conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
The second is in the Board of County Commissioners, Holly Cruey, Assistant Clerk, promotion to a vacant position effective 11/1/2019.
Board, you've heard the reading of the motion for the Assistant Clerk to the Board, Holly Cruey. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Any further conversation or discussion? Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
In the Building Inspection Department, we have Steve Rivera, Building Inspector 2, salary increase, temporary supplemental pay, effective 8/18/2019.
Heard the reading of the motion for add-on in the Inspection Department. Do I have a motion?
Can you, is that 2 or
We'll do them one at a time.
can you read it again, please?
Sure. The first is Stephen Rivera, Building Inspector 2, salary increase, temporary supplemental pay, effective 8/18/2019.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
Second. Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
And in the Building Inspection Department, Stephen Scott, Plans Examiner, salary increase, temporary supplemental pay, effective 8/18/2019.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes. Is that it for yours, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then from our Cardinal Land Conservancy presentation that we had this morning, I move that the Board of County Commissioners, subsequent to the presentation of Cardinal Land Conservancy Incorporated relative to their request for a resolution of support for their latest application for financial assistance for the Ohio Public Works Commission Clean Ohio Fund Green Space Conservation Program, in and as it relates to the New Richmond Nature Preserve acquisition situated within Ohio Township, and in concert with the Board of Township Trustees, Resolution Number 219-60, adopted by the majority of the Board of Ohio Township Trustees on August the 23rd, captioned a resolution supporting an application for the 2019 Clean Ohio Conservation Fund, NRAC 10, round number 14, for the New Richmond Nature Preserve, 160 acres in Ohio Township, Clermont County, Ohio, to this board to resolve to render their support thereof. Do I have a motion for consideration? I'll move. Do I have a second? Hearing no motion, hearing no second, the motion dies on the table. Any further action to come before the board?
I do not have any, sir.
Okay. I'll move on with the agenda. Item number K, Clermont County staff elected official discussions. Anyone here from Clermont County staff who'd like to speak to the board this morning? Seeing none. Item L, member comments. Any comments from the Board of Commissioners? Hearing none, I will request a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Roll call, Judy.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Painter?
Yes. We stand in adjournment. Thank you for attending today. Thank you.